History often shows us that the greatest empires fall not to foreign invaders, but to the turmoil that brews within their own walls. The seeds of destruction are often sown by those who should be the guardians of unity and strength. In the silent halls of power, it is internal strife, jealousy, ambition, and betrayal that can prove most fatal. The Majapahit Empire, once a titan of Southeast Asia, was not toppled by foreign armies, but by a devastating family feud that erupted at the very heart of its royal court. Its rulers, brothers, cousins, nephews, turned against each other, their ambitions and rivalries more destructive than any outside threat. The bonds of blood, meant to unite, instead became lines of division. The infamous Paragreg War, a brutal civil conflict, tore the royal family and the empire apart. What began as a struggle for succession soon spiraled into a war that engulfed the entire kingdom. This war drained resources, shattered unity, and left wounds that never healed. The empire's wealth was squandered, its armies weakened, and its people left in despair. The bonds of kinship that should have strengthened Majapahit instead became its undoing. Family ties, once a source of pride, became a curse that fractured the kingdom. The struggle for power within the palace echoed across the archipelago, weakening the central government and sowing chaos in distant provinces. Regional lords, sensing weakness, began to act independently. Majapahit's story is a stark warning. Sometimes the most dangerous enemies are those closest to you. Suspicion and betrayal can rot a kingdom from the inside out. As we explore this history, we'll see how these family feuds became the driving force behind the collapse of a great maritime power, and how the echoes of this downfall still linger in the ruins and legends of Java today. To truly understand the fall of the Majapahit Empire, we must first appreciate the scale of its greatness and the remarkable legacy it left behind. From the late 13th to the early 16th century, Majapahit rose to become the dominant power in Southeast Asia, ruling from its heartland in Java and shaping the region's history for generations. Its influence stretched far and wide, across the Indonesian archipelago, the Malay Peninsula, Borneo, and even reaching distant lands through trade and diplomacy. The empire's immense wealth was built on its control of the vital spice trade routes, which were fiercely protected by a powerful and sophisticated navy that patrolled the seas. At its capital, a vibrant center of art, culture, and administration flourished. Here, Hindu and Buddhist traditions blended seamlessly, giving rise to a unique Javanese identity that influenced architecture, dance, and literature. The legacy of Majapahit endures even today, reflected in Indonesia's national motto, Unity in Diversity, a powerful reminder of the empire's success in uniting people of many backgrounds, languages, and beliefs. Yet, the very system that made Majapahit strong, a centralized monarchy led by a powerful royal family, also made it vulnerable to internal strife. The fate of the entire empire depended on the unity and cooperation of its royal family, whose decisions shaped the destiny of millions. When ambition, rivalry, and distrust began to poison those crucial relationships, the very foundations of Majapahit started to tremble, threatening everything that had been built. The story of Majapahit's decline is not just the tale of a lost golden age, but a powerful lesson in how the fate of an empire can hinge on the bonds and the fractures within a single family. At the heart of Majapahit's troubles was a royal family divided by ambition. After King Hayam Wuruk's death, his daughter Kusumawardhani and her husband Wikramawardhana were named successors. But Hayam Wuruk's son by a concubine, Bere Wirabumi, was given control of eastern Java, creating a rival court. Wikramawardhana, the legitimate ruler, faced immediate challenge from his ambitious stepbrother. Bere Wirabumi, feeling entitled as the king's son, ruled the east as an independent power. Their rivalry drew in nobles and officials, polarizing the entire political landscape. This was more than a power struggle. It was a clash of legitimacy and vision for the empire's future. Loyalties split between the western and eastern courts, dividing Java. Every dispute became magnified by the overarching feud. This deep division at the top set the stage for a devastating conflict. The empire's strength would soon be tested as never before. In 1404, long-simmering tensions within the Majapahit Empire finally erupted into open conflict, igniting the Paragreg War, a brutal civil war that would rage for 2 years and leave a lasting scar on the kingdom's history. On one side, Wickramawadana's powerful western forces clashed with Wirabuni's determined eastern army, splitting the empire in two and pitting brother against brother in a struggle for supremacy. The war devastated the countryside as villages were burned to the ground, rice fields trampled, and entire communities uprooted. The once thriving heartland of Java became a landscape of ruin and despair. Resources that should have been used for defense and prosperity were instead squandered on internal destruction, leaving the people hungry and the land barren. The Eastern Court fought with remarkable courage, defending their strongholds against overwhelming odds. But the Western Court's greater numbers and resources slowly turned the tide of battle. In 1406, the Western army stormed the Eastern Palace. Wirabumi was captured and executed, his rebellion crushed in a final bloody confrontation that ended the war. On paper, Wickramawadana emerged victorious, reuniting the kingdom under his rule and restoring the throne's authority. But the victory was hollow. The war had left Majapahit economically weakened, its markets empty, and its political structure deeply fractured. Trust among the elite was shattered, with old alliances broken and deep resentments festering beneath the surface of the court. The immense loss of life and treasure diminished Majapahit's power and prestige, leaving the empire vulnerable to threats both within and beyond its borders. The war exposed the royal family's broken unity to all, making it clear that the bonds holding the empire together had been irreparably damaged. Regional vassals and foreign powers quickly recognized Majapahit's vulnerability and began to plot their own ambitions as the empire's grip weakened. The Paragreg War marked the beginning of the end, a self-inflicted wound from which Majapahit never recovered, setting the stage for its eventual decline and fall. The end of the Paragreg War brought no peace, only more intrigue and instability. Violence and betrayal became the new norm, setting a dangerous precedent for future generations. Succession grew chaotic, with multiple claimants vying for the throne after each king's death. Court factions and conspiracies flourished, each succession a potential crisis. The central government lost control, allowing local lords to gain autonomy. After Queen Suhita's reign, another power struggle erupted, further dividing the nobility. These weren't just palace squabbles, they crippled the empire's ability to govern and defend itself. The court became consumed by internal power games, disconnected from the provinces. The seeds of betrayal had grown into a thicket, choking the dynasty's vitality. Majapahit was now a hollow shell, magnificent outside, rotten within, and its enemies were watching. Endless family feuds shattered Majapahit's ability to project power. The once unified military fractured, with factions loyal to rival princes. The king could no longer rely on his army in times of crisis. Civil wars drained the treasury, leaving little for state functions. The great navy fell into disrepair, and piracy flourished as trade routes slipped from Majapahit's control. The central court's authority crumbled as vassal states grew independent. Local rulers withheld tribute and built their own armies, breaking away from imperial control. The empire's structure, once held together by a strong center, was flying apart. The weaker the government, the bolder its rivals became. Majapahit, built on unity, was now destroyed by its own disunity, a paper tiger, formidable in name only. Majapahit's internal chaos was a beacon for opportunistic rivals. Foreign powers and former vassals seized the chance to carve out their own domains. The Ming dynasty's treasure fleets, led by Zheng He, arrived as Majapahit was consumed by civil war, supporting rival ports and challenging Majapahit's authority. The port of Malacca rose to prominence, attracting traders and converting to Islam, further eroding Majapahit's influence. Local powers in Java, Borneo and Sumatra broke away, building their own navies and armies. Many of these new states adopted Islam, creating a new religious and political dynamic. The empire's former subjects stopped sending tribute and asserted independence. The vultures were no longer circling, they were feasting on the remains of a once great empire. Majapahit's decline was now impossible to reverse. The fatal blow to Majapahit came not from abroad, but from within, delivered by the Sultanate of Demak. Demak's founder, Raden Patah, was said to be a Majapahit prince, making the final conflict yet another family feud. Demak, a coastal Muslim state, grew strong as Majapahit weakened. uniting northern port cities and forming a powerful coalition. The clash between the old Hindu-Buddhist court and the new Muslim trading states was inevitable. In the early 1500s, Demak's armies marched inland. Majapahit, weakened by decades of division, could not resist. By 1527, Demak conquered the Majapahit capital, ending the empire. The irony: Majapahit was not conquered by outsiders, but replaced by its own kin. The family feuds had created the very power that would supplant them. Majapahit's fall is a timeless lesson about the fragility of power and the cost of disunity. The empire's greatest threat was not foreign enemies, but its own divided leadership. The Paragreg War and endless succession crises were failures of leadership and vision. When leaders put personal ambition above the common good, decline is inevitable. Yet Majapahit's legacy endures in Indonesia's culture, language, and national identity. The concept of Nusantara, the Indonesian archipelago, comes from this era. Majapahit's story is a powerful chapter in human history, filled with lessons that still resonate. History is shaped by people and their choices, not just by battles and dates. If you found this story compelling, subscribe to History Hit for more tales of fallen empires and the lessons they offer. The past has much more to teach us.